something I saw on the net, so I'm going to repeat it. I should make this just the description for my channel. I have numerous ideas, not from my own experience, but rehashed from other websites that for various reasons I have not acted upon, and include them in hopes that it may inspire others to pursue and develop them independently. AKA, I'm a troublemaker. I just love that. Anyway, today's subject on this channel concerning explosives, weapons, etc. I have an apology to make to a bunch of people, a specific class of shooters. There's an actual reason that there's a difference between a fence post and a $1,600 barrel. That's just the barrel. You're given less than a second to move your gun to position and fire by pointing rather than aiming at a 2-inch target that's moving 30 to 70 miles an hour, and you do it hundreds of times a day reliably. This is the range from shooting extremely high-speed birds or taking out drones and cars, among other things that might be something you'd want to shoot at. Trap shooting targets are launched from a single location called a house or a machine, away from the shooter usually, but there are variations. Skeet shooting targets are launched in front of the shooter, intersecting from two houses or machines, there used to be birdhouses, and usually crossing each other. The reason for this is it emulates clay pigeons. Sporting clay pigeon targets, shooters, walk a course of many launch points, emulating an effect that is sometimes called doing a range, 3-shot, where you're walking around, Call of Duty style, only you're shooting clay pigeons instead of real ones. 16, 20, 28, 12 gauge, and also a specific gauge of gun that will be depicted in the icon for this video, the infamous, nay, the terrifying 50 caliber shotgun. 50 caliber is the cutoff point for destructive device. At or below 50 caliber, you cannot legally declare something a destructive device unless it has over a certain number of foot-pound range or whatever. But if it's completely straight-walled, like a shotgun, a pistol, and some rifles that don't use a neck-down cartridge, it cannot be declared legitimately to be a problem. That's why 410 shotguns are considered weak but acceptable, but for some reason a 45 long Colt that can be fired out of the dang thing is considered dangerous. Perceived danger? Well, not exactly. Let's go for it. In these events, you have these guns that are built to withstand hundreds of shots in a single day without having any problems. During an event, shells with 11 1/8-ounce 32 grain max mass of number 6 or number 7 steel, or number 7 to number 9 2 to 2.4 millimeter lead shot. In the 1920s, the modern 2 3/4 inch shells were introduced along with the star crimp on top of them, specifically because of various types of shooting. You can have a cap on the top, crimps inside, or just have them straight walled, even brass shells. Limits for trap and skeet and everything like this are based on the ounces they make a feet per second restriction. Only 1,350 feet per second or 410 meters per second for 7/8 ounce or 24 gram masses. 1 ounce or 28 gram is limited to 1,325 feet per second or 404 meters per second. At 390 meters per second, we have the lowest speed at 1,290 feet per second for 1 1/8 ounce, 32 grams of lead and or steel shot. And these are little BBs that are 2.5 millimeter. Why are they used? Because even that shot at a distance, hitting a clay target, it'll blast it. Would these be considered less than lethal? See also cut shells. A constant and lengthy repeated use demands the constant and lengthy repeated use causes stress. This does not require heavy projectiles or heavy powder loads, and usually physically or unusually small shells. See also almost flare gun sized. If you're curious about it, flare guns are basically blank round size, if you're curious. That just means it's the same thing as this for the powder, possibly, but you just put a shot card over it and you make sure it's gunpowder. One of the ways to test an unmarked shotgun barrel's muzzle diameter was to try to insert a dime. It was full choke if it failed to go in, a modified choke or larger if it went in, and it was an open bore cylinder bore if a penny fits, I suppose, and 0.798 or, well, 0.8 inch diameter if a slug fit in it, the large one. The smaller ones, slugs, are meant to come out of a choked barrel or rifled barrel. Penny and dime shotgun coin wrappers are not to be misused as 12-gauge hulls or cups, and nickels should not be used as primer pockets in the base for said shotgun shells that are improvised. See also PVC shotgun shell, and also paper shotgun shell manufacturing standards. A $1.80 of loose dimes, might never kill a goblin at 15 feet, since the projectile penetration is dependent on the weight of each projectile and its speed individually, giving the foot-pound rating for each projectile. Not the total weight of all projectiles. That's why slugs do more damage than buckshot of the same weight at the same speed. So birdshot is for birds because it doesn't have to go so far to actually kill a bird or knock it down. Buckshot is for deer. 22s kill both, or anything really, depending on the placement, but require aiming, while shot doesn't require as much aiming. But see also me dissing skeet shooters for being expensive, whiny bitches when literally they may be the best trained home defense people you'd ever run into. And no, please don't hold up a skeet shooting contest. They'll giggle and then they'll say pull, and that's all you'll hear. Anyway, also slugs are for slimy, icky slime bags. Ounce and gram conversion, not grains. Well, grain, dram, ounce, and gram. A gram is 15.432 grains, or 0.564 drams. A dram is 27.34 god-awful grains, or 1.77 grams. An ounce is 16 drams. It's a way of dividing up an ounce, or a pound. Or 437 grains, for 0.5 grains. You can fire form 303 British, 444 Marlin, or 9.3 by 74R rifle cases into 410 shotgun brass shells. You can also look up soda cap bottle top dimensions in the International Society of Beverage Technologists, ISBT, to see what equipment they make and what it could be re-improvised for. And I'm going to bring up my last point in this, if you're curious. The infamous, nay, the horrifying 32 gauge, 50 caliber shotgun. This actually existed. I was wrong on one of my other ones. I had a different number in there because I was guessing at it because I was using a formula. Don't use the formula. At 56 cents each, $14 a box, you can get a half-inch or 50 caliber or 12.7 millimeter 32 gauge shotgun that breaks in half, looks like you broke it, that looks exactly like a 410 shotgun. Why would anybody do this? Why is this something besides a 12 gauge for a subject matter for a video on my channel? I mostly do 12 gauge and flares. Here we go. Muzzle loaders commonly show up in 50 caliber. 50 caliber is the upper limit of what most people consider a viable and usable pistol round. You can make a rifled pistol that is breech loaded with pistol rounds, muzzle loaded with muzzle loader, and a combination of the two for experimental purposes, and use it as a shotgun effectively at short ranges And you can set it up to where it blasts wide or blasts thin, and put effectively 9mm pellets down the barrel by loading them up using the same refill kit by ripping open a 410 shotgun cartridge and pouring it down a muzzle loader and setting it off using the same primer, wasting almost nothing and leaving yourself a reloadable hull, and defend property. You can also use this as an excuse to make a quasi-muzzle loader that allows you to put down the barrel or into the breech rather than the muzzle a cartridge. The barrel could be used universally between them and also be considered technically also a viable rifle round, because there are rifle 50 caliber straight wall shells and non straight wall shells that don't have that rim that is needed that you get headspace for. A 1/2 inch diameter is also commonly used for people making molds and parts for making Nerf guns. It's also extremely common for paintball. It's the only universal diameter that's literally overused for everything in such a way that it is never cross-used. Nerf guns use a format that would only work for what's called a needle or pin fire. It's not a pin fire, it's a needle fire. Muzzle loader or cartridge loader. All the other diameters require a very specific mechanical setup. That's why the Nerf guns don't work that way. But you could make an air gun this way, breech load, muzzle load, anything you want to, and not break any rules. And you could also make a 50 caliber pistol out of it and get away with it. You wouldn't have to buy 410 shells or whatever. You could just make it a muzzle loader. Just like you can make a muzzle loading pistol that's 12 gauge. Technically, it's legal in most areas, as long as, this is very important, it isn't supposed to be loaded with slugs, even though it can, because a muzzle loader shotgun can easily be loaded with muzzle loader slugs. They're bullets. It's just you do it yourself, build it. This makes a platform starting point for the mid-level between 12 gauges and bigger, and all the pistol and rifle sizes. It might be exactly what people were building when they built 410 shotgun frames for certain universal barrel guns, and it would allow you to do something as crazy as having a muzzle device that's shaped like an inside-out 50 caliber BMG bullet that you could flip around and use a bigger breech face and actually fire a 50 BMG out of a big fat barrel. Now, I've been trying to look for a universal platform for testing ballistics, testing metals and plastics, testing all of this. And I've always liked the 50 caliber because it's the only one that's legislated in and doesn't require any imperial entanglements from the ATF or California, except when you do a giant rifle round. Well, if it's not a giant rifle round, they don't complain about it. And if you make it have no features, this is another video I had, make it don't look tactical, make it look like Grandpa's literally antique 50 caliber shotgun, which nobody chambers for anymore, but you can buy the shells for 50 cents a pop and reload the hell out of them. Or just buy brass tubing and reline them and make them very reusable brass shells. And you could chamber them at 50 caliber up to the 3.5 inch max limit, which also matches a 50 caliber Tyrannosaurus Rex like bullet from heck. Literally a universal chambering almost. And yeah, you can put it into where it had spaces for all sorts of things that aren't supposed to go in. Or just make multiple chambers on one barrel. Just saying. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And the information and lots of links below.